Well, hello. This is Kathy of kathysright.com and welcome. If this is your first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. Make sure you subscribe. I don't know where the button is, but it's somewhere. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. If you're listening, because I'm going to try to do this on my podcast as well, welcome again. Subscribe, tell your neighbors, tell your friends. Some of my shows are short and some are long. It depends on the subject matter. Like I had a wonderful guest on yesterday, Mayor Ed Tidwell from my city of Lago Vista, and he was very informative. I'm not a politician, and I'm not a reporter either. But what I am is a conversationalist. I like to talk about the human element, the human side of what's going on. I mean, sure, I'll bring up a few things that are happening in current events, but by no means am I even attempting to be a reporter. But I will talk to you about the human experience, like the human experience of our mayor, being a mayor in a small town in Texas during the pandemic, during all the violence going on in the big cities. Thank God our mayor is a conservative. But I'm thankful to live where I live. Because when I see all the destruction and people getting brutalized on the street, it's barbaric and it's destructive. And there's nothing good that's going to come of it. Nobody's going to look at that violence and say, you know what? I'm not going to be prejudiced anymore, ever again, after watching all these Neanderthals on the street of all colors behave like animals, behave worse than animals. Animals in the forest are more civilized than the children and young adults that I've seen out on the streets of Portland and Seattle and elsewhere, New York. The animals in the forest are better behaved than Bill de Blasio, to be honest. So I really am wondering, how can they not speak on it at the convention when it's their side? I know they're trying to distance themselves from it, but as I showed you in one of my podcasts, Ayanna Presley, she's not distancing herself. Remember, she said, as long as there's unrest on the street, there will be no. As long as there's unrest in our lives, the unrest on the street will continue. Something to that effect. But so they damn sure know what's going on. But they're all ignoring it or distancing themselves from it because that's a safe bet, because they're all on their side. There are two things that I know for sure about the people on the streets of Portland, Seattle, Minneapolis, all of these blue run cities. There's two things that I know for sure, that those are not Christian people out there, and Trump is not their president. That's just a fact. That is how they operate. Action going on in these blue cities, these large blue cities. I can't get cut a break here in Texas because I do a podcast based on sound. And all I've got is cement trucks going up and down the street, and wood trucks, and brick trucks, and all sorts of trucks. And I can't get away from it. I can't find a place in the house to totally get away from it. So not every city and town is being torn down and demolished. Because this is Texas. Even though we still have a blue mayor in the city of Austin, which is shame on them. You know, they like it that way, but Austin. I loved Austin when I was growing up, when I was young, when I was a young adult in Austin. It was fun. It was fun to be young in Austin. Back then, you could drink at 18. And so when I came to college, it was party. It was a huge party. 6th Street, sometimes they used to close it off. So you could just walk in the street and go to place to place to place. And it was clean. It was really clean back then. Now I go into Austin, it's not that clean anymore. It doesn't look that fun anymore. And there's a lot of, it just doesn't look as nice. I mean, Austin's a beautiful city. It is a beautiful, beautiful city. There's lakes everywhere. We've got all sorts of lakes and ponds, Hamilton's Pool. We've got wonderful places to go and eat. Oh, the best food. But I rarely venture into Austin anymore But when I do go, I have a little care package for the homeless, just in case one comes near my car, I have something to give them. I don't know why homeless people, I think homeless people tend to live wherever is warm and comfortable. And Austin is that compared to the rest of Texas. It is warm but yet comfortable. It's not as humid as, say, Houston. And it's not as hot as, say, Dallas. But homelessness is an issue in almost all cities. It's not something that we're proud of as Americans. I really believe that homelessness is an extension of our mental health facilities being shut down years ago. I mean, they used to have a bunch of state run hospitals for the mentally ill. Now that hardly exists. Hardly. And even then, I think a lot of these people, their families have had it with them. They won't get help. They don't want to take medication. I'm not talking about all, but some. There's definitely a population of people with mental illness who do not want help. And they actually would rather live on the street than accept help from anyone. That's kind of sad. So when we look at how the Democrat convention is going right now, basically it's a Trump bashing convention, and they distance themselves from the actual goings on across the country in blue states like Seattle, Minneapolis, New York, and the disaster that is Bill de Blasio and Cuomo. More people died in nursing homes during this pandemic because of the edict of Governor Cuomo. More people died during that short time than in 9/11 total. That says a lot. And when he talks about it after the fact, he actually said, well, those are just numbers. These are people. These are human beings. Because they're old, they're just numbers? Yeah, that's Cuomo. But that's very indicative of the Democratic Party. Human life is not valued from the beginning or at the end, from before birth and in the end when you're old and frail. The people who are most vulnerable, who need our protection the most, the Democrat Party thinks of them as disposable. Disposable. Or sometimes collateral damage. That is despicable. That is why I could never be a Democrat. So Joe Biden is going to speak tonight. He hasn't taken a single question from a reporter since, I think they said July 28th. Yeah. And they're telling you, they're giving us excerpts of what he's going to say, and they're saying that Joe Biden is going to make everything okay because he's gone through things like this before, which he hasn't, and he can fix it. He knows how to fix it. Well, if he can remember how to fix it, I'm betting he won't. And this whole new endearing way that Kamala says, and Joe, please. Don't play me, Kamala. They are playing America for chumps. They're playing us all for chumps. Which is why this election we will be voting for President Donald Trump. Because we're not going to be played for chumps anymore. No. Trump was right about everything he said about them. He was right about everything. And they have not changed. They're just sneakier. They're slimy snakes, the Democrat Party is. I mean, I don't think they're going to have a good turnout at all. Because I think people are watching the television now. They're not going to see a lot of the violence on CNN and NBC and all of them. They're not going to see much of it because that's their side. That's their side that's out on the street. Trump is not their president, remember? So their side is out there. They're distancing themselves. Oh, they don't know about it. No. I mean, this isn't really happening, right? So this November, I can tell you who I'm voting for. And I'll bet you the Democrats do not show up. Even if they gave them mail ballots, which is what they're trying to do because they know that there's a temptation for them to be lazy. So they're gonna say, well, if we mail out the ballots, then we'll get, we can cheat, and people who are lazy don't have to do much of anything to vote. But we can go to Walmart, we can go to the store, we can stand in line at the grocery store, we can go get gas, we can do all these things. And somehow, I guess the disease, because they say it's because of our health, right? But the disease doesn't actually go into Walmart. The disease is very distinct, distinguishing where it goes. It doesn't go into Walmart. It doesn't go to the bank. It doesn't go to the ATM. The disease does not go to my favorite stores. But all the other stores, the mom and pop stores, the disease, yeah, they just wallow there. That's where they are, right? But we can't 6 feet distance ourselves to get in line to vote? Is that what they're saying? Because it's so much of a threat? Nobody's buying that, right? I'm not. Nobody's buying that. Nah. And where is Hunter Biden? I don't know. Let's ask Joe. Oh, wait a minute. Joe might not remember. Because Joe doesn't answer questions, remember? Joe doesn't answer the phone. They showed Joe talking to Kamala when they were doing that talk about her accepting his choice, which I don't think he chose. And then they show the phone. He's actually got it upside down. Joe can't answer the phone, let alone answer reporters' questions, unless they're prefabricated, prefab questions that they make up and let him know ahead of time so he can write up a little script and read from a card, if that's at all possible. I'm not trying to be mean, because I've dealt with dementia in my life, not my own just yet. I mean, I'm getting up in age. I forget a few things, but I'm not running for president. Joe is Kamala. Joe. Well, anyways, I love you guys. This is Kathy of kathysright.com, and I'm always right.